Good day, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In today's episode, we're going to continue our coverage of the ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. So today we are receiving a lot of reports, specifically coming from the Abiy loyalist state media. And some of these reports, these statements that are being claimed by spokespersons very close to Abiy Ahmed, are actually also making it onto some mainstream media outlets such as Bloomberg. And what we're seeing is the traditional hyperbolic messages that are coming out of the Abiy Ahmed regime. At any point during the conflict, and it has been throughout the conflict, we have been getting incredibly hyperbolic false narratives, especially at the sign of lately of any success that the Abiy loyalists are in fact achieving some sort of success, and that mutates itself into a incredibly hyperbolic narrative of overachievement. And again, we're seeing that now with some of the fighting that is taking place throughout the country. And some of this hyperbolic narrative is actually being picked up by other YouTube channels that have remained fairly balanced, I would say. But at times, it would appear that individuals are obtaining messages that are being put out there by the Ethiopian state media, and it has inherently been a very false message. Unfortunately, for those who are trying to cover this civil war, and again, when you have the federal government, the former federal government of Ethiopia, proclaiming certain victories and certain narratives that are happening within the scope of the conflict, it's very hard to get a really good picture of what's going on, because in fact some of those narratives have just been so theatrical that you really can't believe anything that then comes out of the Abiy loyalist side of the equation. You really can't. And right now, it is being reported that the Abiy loyalists have moved into Gashina, quite possibly have taken control of Gashina. That's in this area here, and it would appear that fighting is also picking up in terms of a possible counter-offensive by Amhara regional militias, by the remnants of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces along the Debrecen Shia Robit front as well. And again, we have to look at the conflict in total. You have to look at the advances that have been made so far in total. And again, as you look on this map, the green area is the areas controlled currently by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. The red areas are the areas controlled by the Abiy loyalists, the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the federal forces, and the yellow areas are the areas in control by the Oromo Liberation Army. And again, we can confirm that we are receiving reports that indeed some progress has been made by the Abiy loyalists along the Gashina front. Now, do we know for certain that Gashina has been taken by the federal forces? No, we can't say that at this time. Again, getting information is very difficult. Again, very fluid situation. But obviously, the Amhara militias have made some efforts recently within the last 48 hours, 72 hours, to attempt to make gains along the Gashina front. We know that. We have also heard, again, reports that some initial gains have been made within the area of Debre Sina. And I talked about this before, that the fighting just to the west of Debre Sina would be incredibly challenging. And again, that is what we are seeing. Now, we have also received reports that Ethiopian National Defense Forces have pushed towards Shia. And again, many of these statements are coming from the news sources that we have not been able to trust in the past because of these hyperbolic statements that come out, and then we find out later that it's simply a work of fiction. And right now, even some other channels, other outlets have even gone so far as to report that the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the Amhara regional militias, are on the gates of Kombolcha or have even entered the town of Kombolcha. Again, none of this can be confirmed. None of this can be confirmed on the ground. As far as we're concerned right now, it's an erroneous report. Again, you have to look at the conflict in total, and given the situation on the ground that existed just 24, 48 hours ago, we now advanced to today, December 1st, very, very short period of time, and now these same Abiy loyalist and government forces are talking about they're now in Kombolcha. So again, but a look at the map, and you be the judge for yourself. Obviously, the conflict is going to ebb and flow. There are going to be momentum swings. Is the Tigrayan Defense Forces going to do a systematic push and seize Addis Ababa without any challenges and without any difficulties? No, of course not. This is a significant conflict. It is the largest both conventional and high-intensity insurgency conflict on the planet right now. Very, very large conflict. But again, what I'm trying to do is control the rumor mill, control false narratives, and just lay out the facts. Even if you are on the side of the Abiy loyalists, I wouldn't get hyperbolic and carried away, and then find yourself depressed later on when what you were hearing simply did not occur and has not occurred. But again, right now, the status on the ground has not changed significantly. Has there been possible successes by the Amhara regional militias and the Ethiopian National Defense Forces in certain areas? Yes, possibly. Is it going to continue? It could. It's possible. Now, with that being said, past performances are indicative of future results. And if we remember the initial invasion by the Tigrayan Defense Forces into the Amhara region, they've been able to push quite significantly, very deeply into the Amhara region. So the likelihood of a complete 180-degree turn is improbable at this point. But again, we're going to continue to keep our eye on the situation and, of course, report. Now, the one issue that I do want to talk about is the issue of external intervention by outside forces in this conflict. And as we know, we can confirm that high-ranking political entities of the People's Republic of China have been on the ground and are currently on the ground. And we also know that China has sent wing loon drones to the former state of Ethiopia. Now, what's interesting about when China does its drone contracts, normally China does not send actual contractors to the host nation that is receiving the drone, the weapon system. That has to be learned via training in the People's Republic of China, and then they take that device back, and it is then deployed. And not having those contractors on the ground assisting in the Ethiopian environment has caused some issues. And the way that the Abiy loyalists are rectifying that situation is they are utilizing directly the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates deploys the wing loon drone themselves, and not only are they assisting in the operation of Abiy loyalist drones, they are also supplying the Abiy loyalist state with additional drones that they have purchased themselves. So the United Arab Emirates is directly supporting the Abiy loyalists, the Ethiopian Federal Forces. We also know that the Russian Federation is also on the ground inside of the former state of Ethiopia. Specifically, they do maintenance on heavy vehicles, such as some of the self-propelled artillery that has been given to Abiy Ahmed's army. And specifically, we've most recently seen an example of the TOS-1 thermal barrack weapon system being deployed. And that would be a system that would have to be maintained by Russian Federation contractors. Is it Wagner? Is it some other contract group that is operating inside of Ethiopia? It's difficult to say, but be that as it may, we know there are absolute Russian contractors on the ground now. I've talked about the possibility of direct kinetic assistance by Wagner and Russian assets. Could we be seeing that occur now? It's possible. Again, very, very possible. A lot of eyes right now are on what's going on in the Ukraine. But again, it's very possible that that Russia could be looking to obtain another long-term ally in the Horn of Africa. In Africa, we know that Russia is operating across Africa right now in a couple of different countries, for example. And quite possibly Ethiopia could be next on their list to gain a long-term ally. So again, we know these things are in fact occurring. We also know that there is now fairly significant troop movements occurring along the border with Sudan. We know Sudan is moving troops and equipment towards the Ethiopian border. We know that there have been engagements between Amhara militias, Eritrean forces, and the Sudanese army and Sudanese local militia units. We also know that the Tigrayan Defense Forces have training camps inside of Sudan. And that is another piece of this conflict that I am hearing that we may see an uptick in activity in Western Tigray. on the part of the Tigrayan Defense Forces, quite possibly looking to make a renewed push into Western Tigray. Now, we haven't seen that happen yet, but again, obviously, controlling that border at some point would be something that the Tigrayan Defense Forces would want to do. But that right now is the status of the conflict. Again, incredibly hyperbolic false narratives coming out of the Abiy loyalist camp. This has been done in the past. If we go back and we look at earlier parts of the conflict in which Kobo was seized, in which Waldea was seized, Sokoto was seized, Mersa was seized, Wachali was seized, Falakit was seized, Gashina was seized, Dese was seized. All these occurrences were denied by the Abiy loyalists, by the Ethiopian federal government that currently sits in Addis Ababa, also known as Fin. And they have really never acknowledged the fact that these towns and cities have been taken. The only time you hear acknowledgement that these towns and cities were taken by the Tigrayan Defense Forces is when you start to hear about an alleged counteroffensive to then retake areas that have been lost. But again, we are watching this very closely. We are gathering information, and we'll give you, the watcher, more information as soon as we receive it and have a good and better picture of what is actually occurring on the ground. Again, very difficult to take the information that is coming out of the Abiy loyalist side of this conflict and look at it objectively and look at it with credibility because that side of the conflict really has lacked a lot of credibility in reporting on what was happening inside the scope of this conflict. But again, we'll continue to monitor and report, and we'll have more information soon. Have a great day, everybody.